In this video, we will calculate the probability of two independent events. As a reminder, when two events are independent, let's call them A and B, then the probability of both occurring is simply the multiplication of the probability of A and the probability of B. So we're going to refer back to this formula when we are solving these problems. All right, let's take a look at the first example. Suppose you roll a six-sided die and you draw a card from a deck, a 52 card deck. What is the probability you roll an even number and you draw an ace? So we want probability of even and ace. Now, since these two events are independent, because one event does not impact the probability of the other, we can multiply them. So what's the probability of even times the probability of ace? So the probability that we roll a six-sided die and we get an even number is 1/2. And the probability that from a 52 card deck we draw an ace, there's 4 aces out of the 52. So multiply fractions, we multiply straight across the top and the bottom, we get 4 over 104, and this can reduce down to 1 out of 26. So that's the probability that both of those things happen because they're independent events. Let's try one more. Out of all the emails a secretary receives, she receives one from her boss 33% of the time. She also randomly drives to work instead of walking 98% of the time. What is the probability that she opens an email from her boss and drives to work? Round to the nearest thousandth. So we're going to have to assume these events are independent because it didn't tell us. Now that's pretty easy to assume that receiving an email from your boss and deciding to drive to work are independent events. So we want the probability that we receive an email from our boss and we drive to work. And since they're independent, we can do the probability of driving, probability of boss, times the probability of driving. So the probability of receiving an email from boss is 0.33, and driving to work instead of walking is 0.98. So when we multiply these fractions together, we get about 0.323 when we round to the nearest thousandth.